Hello, students. Today, um, we are going to discuss the different types of broadcast news formats. That is the most common broadcast news formats. The first one is news on the hour. Second is prime time news. Third, late night news. Fourth one, headlines or news in brief. Fifth one is slow speed or dictation speed bulletin. Sixth, disaster news. The last one is drive time news. All these seven types are applicable both to radio and television. So these are the most common broadcast news formats. Let us see one by one now. So first one is news on the hour. So what is this news on the hour? This is actually 2 to 5 minutes newscast at the start of each hour to provide happenings in the last 1 hour or what remains as the latest news. So this is actually 2 to 5 minutes newscast at the start of each hour, like 8 o'clock at the start of 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. This is from 2 to 5 minutes. The next second one is prime time news. This is actually 10 or 15 minutes newscast. So that is the difference. This is news on the hour is 2 to 5 minutes, maximum 5 minutes. Prime time news 10 to 15 minutes newscast during prime time in the morning and evening. That is when in most houses the radio would be switched on to here. So prime time, we know prime time it differs from place to place. In cities prime time might be 8 o'clock, 8 to 8:15, and in other areas it might be 9 to 9:15 or 9:30 to 9:45 or sometimes even 10 o'clock. So it differs from place to place. So accordingly time will be fixed, the prime time will be fixed. So it will last from 10 to 15 minutes. So during prime time in the morning it will be broadcasted in the morning and evening. That is when in most houses the radio would be switched on to here to know what has happened last night or what has happened while we worked today, that is in the evening. Next, third one is late night news. So this is 10 or 15 minutes newscast which sums up the day's happening. So the day's happening, what happened today will be summed up in the late night news which we have at 10 o'clock in most of the television. And similarly the same we have in radio also, that is last from that is from 10 to 15 minutes which sums up the day's happenings. It is broadcast at 10 or 11 p.m. in radio. And the fourth one is headlines or news in brief. So this is actually 30 to 60 second, which summarizes of the day events in one sentence versions of the latest stories. Just in a sentence, it will summarize all the day events. This is called headlines or news in brief. Fifth one is slow speed or dictation speed bulletin. So this is actually 10 or 15 minutes news. Summarizes. It actually the summaries are read out slowly to provide news in the evenings to small evening newspapers who could not afford to pay the news agencies for out of town stories. So stories in this newscast will have headlines and datelines. This is actually the slow speed or dictation speed bulletin is actually only for the evening newspapers who cannot pay the news agencies for out of the town stories. This is not for the listeners, that is not for the common man, but it is meant this news a slow speed that is why it is called slow speed or dictation speed bulletin. So it will be in a dictating format for the evening newspapers, small evening newspapers. The next is disasters news. So these are actually unscheduled live news reports on major disasters like a fire, earthquake, or a flood, and there's even this corona pandemic, something like that. So this is disaster news. Uh, um, and the last